What's up, good people?
We back with episode 5. 5. We done did 5 whole episodes.
Alive 5.
Lord. I think my mic is on. Okay, we good. I'm excited about tonight.
Me too.
I'm real big on boundary setting and making sure that, not that you do what's best for you, and that there's respect all across the board. All across the board. So, yeah. So first, what does having boundaries mean for you? Like, I know it's not a one size fits all type of thing, but you can definitely have certain boundaries that apply to everybody, if that makes sense.
Yeah, boundaries are important because you gotta be able to know when to draw the line. You gotta be able to know when to say, all right, that's it. Whether if it's family, friends, co-workers, whoever, you gotta be able to say, nope, this is it, because now it's messing with your mental. Now it's messing with you emotionally, and if you let it go on long enough, it'll be messing with you physically. So boundaries are definitely important.
But so for me, boundaries mean, first of all, mental and spiritual health. If I have peace, or me being at peace is non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. Being parents, it is, our children's peace is non-negotiable. So for me, boundaries are extremely important, like you said, for everybody across the board. They're also important too because without boundaries, people don't know that's how you treat people, how to handle you.
Yeah.
If you lack boundaries, you are telling people, this is I'm a mat, I'm a floor mat.
Yeah, you allow them to come in and just do whatever.
Yeah, you can do whatever, you want to do. And because that used to be me, to be on the side now where I put in boundaries, there is so much peace over here on this side.
Boundaries do bring peace.
It's never easy. The more you do it, the easier it gets. But it's not necessarily easy, especially when you have to do it for family members.
Yeah.
Especially when you have to do it for those close friends. Because let's be honest, sometimes our friends don't know boundaries because we're friends and we like to play. But still, the boundaries that I had as a single woman aren't the boundaries that I have as a married woman. They differ. The boundaries that I have or had with my friends 3 years ago aren't the same boundaries that I have now. And so what for you, we can start with the friendship aspect. What boundaries do you really, really, really like that they're non-negotiable? They are like your foundational principles for boundaries, if that makes sense.
Time, space, and family. Understanding that my time is valuable.
Yeah.
Understanding that my space is my space. And understanding that regardless of what's happening, family gonna come first before any friend activity, before any guy trip, guy hangout, any of that. And it's important that they understand that. It's important that they are aware of those those certain things.
Okay, so Brittany said, and don't feel bad when telling someone they're overstepping.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And I think
even if it's your family members, that's the big one. Your friendships and your family members, and it's definitely levels to it, for sure. It's definitely a time and place and that's why boundaries are, that's why they come about, because you got to be able to put your foot down and say, hey, this don't feel right, or this isn't right. You did me this way. I'm not allowing this to take place, again. So that definitely family members, definitely people who have close proximity to you. That's, like I said, that's your space. That's your you have to protect your peace, and setting boundaries and guarding your space is definitely that's definitely important for sure.
So I think that, because I forgot where I said where we started from, because you
Boundaries.
Yeah, I know we're talking about boundaries, but I know I forgot what we said. I said we were going to start at just that quick. I don't know if we're going to start with friends or.
Yeah, you said friendship.
Okay, so you gave your foundational principle or foundational boundaries. So my foundational boundaries are similar. So for me, my foundational principles are, my foundational boundaries are my, like I said, my mental health, my mental health and my peace, my marriage, and my family. As someone who has struggled with depression, suicide, and people pleasing, and being delivered from that, one of the things that I vowed to not just myself, but even, telling God, like, I don't ever want to go back to that person, because those three things were affected heavily. If you know me, you know that my mental health and my peace, my marriage, and my family, like my husband, my kid, God, outside of God, my husband, kids, and like my peace, that's the, not necessarily the core of who I am, but like that's what I value the most. And for a while, I let people just tell me, how I needed to handle my husband, tell me how I needed to handle my kids, and even how I needed to handle my own, like myself. And so now now that I have the understanding and the knowledge and the wisdom to just like Brittany said, to let people know when they're overstepping, like, hey, I don't like that, and having those hard conversations, which really shouldn't be hard, because how you get mad at somebody because they don't want to allow you to take advantage of them no more. We'll get into that later.
That's manipulation
and control. But those are my foundation principles, because I know, like, as a child, I got bullied in school early on, and it definitely shaped me into who I would be in the future. Even up to us getting married. So lacking boundaries, the earlier part of my 20s, late teen, well, basically my whole life, the past couple of years have been pivotal with creating boundaries and drawing that line in the sand, because a lot of people who went through or have gone through what I've gone through, and gone through any type of trauma, really, the last thing you want to do is enforce a boundary and lose whoever you're enforcing the boundary with. And I think that that's the hardest thing for concerning boundaries that people do. So first of all, let's back up. A boundary, I thought I looked it up, but I guess not. But just, for people who really, because there may be somebody who don't know what a boundary is. Thank you. You was quick on your feet just then. Well, you sit down. Same difference. Give me 1 second, y'all. Okay, so the definition of a boundary is a line that marks the limits of an area, a dividing line. It's the synonyms are border, frontier, borderline, partition, dividing line. You get it. But that's like the physical boundary. I guess you can say metaphorical boundary that we're speaking of, the emotional boundary, the mental boundary, the spiritual boundary, is when You, like I said, it's how you tell people how to treat you. You don't like being ran over. You don't like for people to come in and tell you how to treat your husband. Hey, listen, you can offer me advice, but you can't make me do anything. You know, like if you're dealing with somebody who just oversteps, meaning they just all in your business all the time, and no matter if you say, hey, I don't like that, hey, I don't like that is your boundary. You know, you let them know I don't like it. That's you drawing that line. And if they overstep that, then you have every right to either A, cut them off, put them in their place, and still enforce that boundary. I'm real big on, even with my children or with our children, I'm real big on letting them know they don't have to put up with it. If somebody is making you uncomfortable as an adult, you're not going to keep going back to that situation. So why do you think that I would make my kids, you know, like, go through that? Because you have to show your kids their worth too. Mm-hmm. How your children see people treat you is how they're going to allow people to treat them. Now, I'm not saying that everybody is, you know, has to have boundaries. People literally, like, just because of their own boundaries will respect somebody else based off that. So you don't always have to enforce your boundaries with anybody. But for those of you who really need, like, who really, I ain't gonna say need, but who really desire to set boundaries, it's easy to figure out where your boundaries are. Like, that's the easiest part. The hardest part is actually enforcing them, especially, like Antonio said, especially if it's with family members, with your parents, with your siblings, with your grandparents, your aunties, uncles, whoever. Boundaries are extremely important, and knowing your place in somebody's life is extremely important, because then that will help you create those healthy boundaries. Yeah. Because there are unhealthy boundaries. If you have boundaries to keep everybody out, that is unhealthy. And I would highly advise you to let somebody in to help you. We're not made to just go through everything alone.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I remember I had some unhealthy boundaries, especially dealing with you know, stuff before in my early 20s. You know, ending high school, becoming a young adult. I just put boundaries up just to say, I put up barbed wire fences. Beware of dog, or
just to scare him a little bit.
Don't cross this line. You know, all the things that one house on the street, they got all the signs, no trespassing, none of that. And I had all those signs up just because I didn't want to. Looking back, retrospectively, I see that I put those boundaries up because I wasn't man enough to be vulnerable enough to let somebody in, so I can share, you know, what I was dealing with. Mm-hmm. You know, not necessarily to receive any judgment or anything like that, but just to express how I felt. I didn't feel like I had somebody that I could be vulnerable with or share that space with. So I just X'd out everybody. You know, I only allowed, you know, a handful of people to even get within speaking distance.
You ain't lying.
You know, of me. So that when you understand that it's important to have healthy boundaries, that can be a game changer for sure.
So, like, what? Oh, you said early 20s. You in your early 30s now, sir.
Don't remind nobody.
I mean, it's not a bad thing. You gotta.
And my boundaries don't change in the 30s.
Yeah, they have. I can definitely attest to that. So, just to kind of piggyback off of what you said, like, I remember us when we were like best friends, mm-hmm. and like there were just certain subjects that were just off limits, and because I was your best friend, I didn't know everything, but I knew a lot. So I knew what subjects were touchy. And even though I wanted to be there for you, like you said, you put in that boundary to where you kept everybody out. Don't I still to this day do not like how we even started dating.
I don't even know.
Like now, and I want to acknowledge Brittany's comment because I keep looking at it because it's good. But she said at this point in her life, if she has to,
if you have to lose people for disrespecting
her boundaries, then peace out. Hey, like
peace out and then peace in, because you gain a certain amount of peace.
Yeah.
When those people have pieced out, they done ran out of peace.
We might have to clip.
You know, they done ran out of peace. You know,
that was good.
And so, if they want to chunk the deuces, let them be looses.
What?
I don't know, but it sounded good
in your brain. It's
but it's still.
It rhymed. It rhymed.
Okay. It's good for the podcast.
I guess so.
But anything good for the podcast?
No, not anything.
Cause we got boundaries. I know it.
No, but I think just looking back then, and we weren't grown. We were still teenagers. Mm-hmm. Like, to look at the lack of boundaries thereof, and not being taught exactly what boundaries were. Like, it was, I know for me, I lack boundaries because having daddy issues and not having a present father figure, a consistently healthy present father figure, allowed me to allow people to treat me in a kind of way. Because I just wanted to be accepted because of the rejection that I felt from my own dad. And I don't think that that's talked about enough. Like, there's a lot of people, you can heal from your parents. You need to heal your parents. They did the best they could, and it still wasn't good enough. But let's be honest here. You're an adult. Your triggers are your responsibility. It happened. Yes, your parents did the best they could. Things still happen in life, and your parents can't necessarily they can't protect you from everything. As bad as us parents want to, there are just some things that we're going to go through in life because of our own, mistakes. And I'm not giving nobody a pass. I'm not saying your parents were right for whatever that you feel like they did to you. What I'm saying is that's only an excuse that you can use for so long. Because I literally, when they say hurt people, I was out here, like if you did the smallest thing, I was the person that cut everybody off. You rubbed me the wrong way. You thought you was trying to tell me what to do, whether you was right or wrong. Like I had been mistreated and rejected so many times, and I had been mistreated so badly to the point where, like you said, my boundaries were for me. They were designed to keep everybody out, because if I don't let nobody in, I can't get hurt. Mm-hmm. Not recognizing that the boundaries that I set.
If you don't let somebody in, you can't get healed.
Yeah, like I enclosed myself with all the hurt that I had just let sit there with me for years. And it wasn't until our 3rd year of marriage when I went to counseling. Yeah, 3rd year of marriage. And I was like, something's wrong with me. I don't know exactly what it is. I don't know exactly how to explain it, but my emotions, I can't control them. I'm lashing out at people. There's stuff happening and I don't know how to speak up. And what I learned was, because I had pushed everybody out, even though we were married and stuff, me still I was unintentionally pushing everybody away because I felt like what I had gone through was so dark that it was going to, like, if I opened up and let somebody see what had really happened to me as a kid in my, teen years and even in my early adulthood, I felt like it was going to make somebody be like, girl, you got way too much going on. And I thought it was just going to make people leave. Especially you. There were some things that happened. I didn't even tell my mom about a lot of stuff until a couple of years ago because I had to go heal from it. I was just consistently carrying this stuff around. And once I went to counseling, once I continued to do the work, and actually really did the work, I recognized that my lack of boundaries as an adult was my own fault. And I had to relearn myself, and then learn how to enforce those specific boundaries. Like you taught me a lot in our early years of marriage about boundaries because it was just certain stuff you just weren't going to put up with. Anybody thought that they were going to come to you and talk about me in a malicious way, or, well, I didn't like how she did. Yeah, no. Like, that was a boundary for you. You're not going to come to me and talk about my wife and then think that I'm going to sit here and lend you a listening ear. Like, that doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. And vice versa. We were pretty young. We were 23 and 25. And so having a child on top of not knowing a whole lot, especially about mental health and about boundaries, the one thing I believe that we intentionally did was, okay, this is my family, us and our kid. Anybody else coming here trying to wreak havoc here, that's getting stopped by both of us, mm-hmm. But like you said, when it comes to family, we both struggle with setting boundaries early on. And it actually caused a lot of turmoil and it caused a lot of hurt on both our ends. And we've both had to heal from certain things because people, when you lack boundaries, people feel like they can say and do anything. And because we didn't really know how to we know how to stand together, but if if it was me in a conversation by myself, it either went too left to where I'm snapping on somebody for real, or it just resulted in me just not wanting to lose that person, because when you are going through things, everybody has a remedy. Yeah. Everybody wants you to do certain things in a way that pleases them. Yeah. But what worked for other people did not work for us. And so the boundary we had to set, even with that as a married couple, is, hey, what works for your household does not work for ours. And we had to stop telling everybody what we were going through. We had to stop telling them we
had to understand where we fit in people's lives.
That's true.
So because when you are able to understand where you fit in people's lives, you understand the amount of information you can give those people.
That's true.
So if I can come to you about anything, I know I can come and lay on your couch. I know that I have a place in your home, or I know, whatever the case may be. If
it's safe.
Yeah, a safe place. I know that, if the car breaks down, I know you'll come pick me up. Those, when you understand those relationships with whoever it is, family, friends, whoever it is, when you understand that, that's when you're vulnerable enough to know that you can share certain information without being judged for it. They require a safe haven or a safe space for you to just vent and open up. So, my question is, with friendships, what are some signs? And if you're watching on Facebook, you can definitely chime in. We live on Facebook as well, as shooting over here as well. The question is, in friendships, what are some signs that someone has set some unhealthy boundaries? Like, how do somebody know that? Well, how do you know that some people have set unhealthy boundaries, and how do you properly deal with those unhealthy boundaries without causing any conflict or chaos amongst the friendship?
Okay, so are you asking me how I would know if I?
No, just a general. That's a general.
No, but I get it was a general question.
Yeah.
But for the sake of me understanding and answering properly from my point of view, my perspective.
Yeah.
You're asking, okay, so how would I know? Say I'm friends with somebody. How would I know that they've set unhealthy boundaries, or how?
Or you?
Or me. So I know for me, I knew when I didn't know when I set the unhealthy boundaries that they were unhealthy. I knew that something needed to change, but I wasn't sure exactly what it was. But as I stated earlier, when I went to counseling, and you recognize just not saying anything, not just allowing people to say whatever they want to say, even if I spoke up, and then just acting like nothing ever happened, like, it leaves you always feeling irritated and angry, and it leaves you feeling desperate. It leaves you feeling rejected, and the signs that I seen was, first of all, for me, weight gain, depression. Yeah, them like my biggest ones, because it made me overly emotional. Like, I had no control over my emotions, because I kept trying to be accepted by people that I didn't need to accept me. Like, and some of the people that I was in friendships with had unhealthy boundaries with me, because I wouldn't set no boundaries. You would get fighting mad at me because I would just let people say or do, and I just would let it roll off my back and still love them and still keep the same proximity and keep the same friendship, when in reality it should have changed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so to me, to know when somebody has unhealthy boundaries, you can just look at the way they live their lives.
Yeah.
Look at how they navigate friendship.
By their fruit, you should know them.
Yeah. Like, and don't get me wrong, because some people can hide it really well. I want to hit the X. Some people can really hide, their unhealthy boundaries, really well. But over time, you'll start to see unhealthy habits. Mm-hmm. Like the person, everybody's like, they just get drunk. Like, every time y'all go out, if you go out, every time y'all get, like, this person literally is just, out of the whole clan. Like, they have no boundaries with getting drunk. This person does not care about how it affects anybody. This person does not care if they are an inconvenience. That is also a sign that they have unhealthy, that's an unhealthy boundary with alcohol. Now, an example of an unhealthy boundary with people is somebody who is always a chameleon, no matter where they go.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm with this group, and they real preppy and real girly. They don't even like to dress that way. They gonna do it because of the group they're in. Then they get with the laid back people, and they wearing sweats and t-shirts and slides.
I feel hit.
The hit dog gonna holler every time. That rhymed.
I got on t-shirt, sweats, and my hair.
I mean, that's though. Just that, but that's who you are. That's all you've been.
But
like,
I'm not a chameleon.
Nobody said you were. Anyways, what did? letting you dump all your Yep.
Yeah. I literally told you the other day that what I said. I said some people only look for friendships so they can find dumpsters.
Yeah.
So they can
actually.
Some people are dumpsters in friendships, and people just come to that friendship or be a part of that friendship only to dump all they garbage and they trash and they baggage onto another person without allowing that person to
reciprocate,
or dump their feelings, baggage, stuff on them. And
but why did you tell me that the other day? Do you remember?
Mm-mm.
You told me that because I was venting to you about feeling like a dumpster. Like,
oh yeah,
I like legitimate. I am, I have been, because I'm no longer, but there have been seasons to where I have been there, for the people that were around me, and I didn't get that back, so I would come, and be like, hey, this just got dumped on me, and this is how I feel about it. So in turn, you became a dumpster unintentionally, but then there were times where you'd be like, I ain't trying to be mean, but I want to hear that. I don't, there were times you would sit and listen because you genuinely knew that I was, you knew I always come from a place, but then you have always reminded me of how people should treat me when they love me, when they value what I bring to the table. Anybody that is now, some seasons require you to listen a little more than, because everybody's seasons are different. But when you are always that friend that everybody dumps into, you be like, dang, now when it's my turn, where y'all be at? When it's my turn, I pick up the phone, everybody's busy, but I'm over here dropping everything to open up the top of this doggone trash can for y'all to just keep putting stuff in. Keep putting, and on top of that now, I gotta navigate my life. I gotta navigate my business. I gotta navigate my marriage. I gotta navigate my kids. And I have all this stuff weighing on me. But when I started enforcing boundaries, those type of friends started dropping off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because
what did Niecy say?
She said that I'm a friend, I'm gonna always be here, but I've set that boundary to where you think it's okay to always bring me that energy.
Yeah, you have to set that boundary.
That's an important boundary, yeah, for sure.
Because if you don't set that boundary, you're gonna always be a trash can. You're gonna always be that dumpster. You're gonna always feel overwhelmed, overloaded, and just like you're about to explode because you're carrying stuff that does not belong to you.
Yeah.
And so I remember talking to my mom a few years ago, and we had a conversation. She was like, Dashnik, you got to learn how to dump.
Yeah.
She was like, you got to learn, because I'm that person that wants to be, I want you to know you have my full attention. I want you to know that if you need me for advice, I want to respond in a way that's going to help you, come to the best possible solution or whatever it is. I know I don't know everything, but I am a friend who cares, who loves, and I don't care if you come to me telling me that you had a bad day. Well, girl, listen. I'm gonna listen to your whole spiel, and afterwards I'm either gonna offer advice or I'm be like, I always ask, what do you need from me?
Yeah.
That's a boundary for me, because if you don't need nothing from me, we can move on to the next conversation, and that's gone out of my mind. Because making other people's problems your problems is because you have a lack of boundaries.
Yeah, you have a lack of boundaries, and it's important to understand that you can literally. Me and my guy Marcus at work, we talked about this yesterday, and he said that in friendships, someone's situation in a friendship, in a 10, let's just say for a 10-year friendship or a decade-long friendship, someone's situation or character, you done dealt with that person's character for 10 years and didn't even offer or ask them, to change or come to them as a friend and be like, hey, XYZ. You need to fix this, or you need to do that. You allow that person to.
You enable them.
Yeah, you enable them to be who they are in that friendship for 10 years. Now you have to grieve that friendship that you're trying to cut off now over 10 plus years because you decided that you didn't want to set any boundaries 10 years ago. And we just sat there at work and we were just like, because that right there, that's some deep stuff, because
it happens easily.
Now, because I don't want to be the person to say, hey, you need to change. You don't want to be the person to say, let me change because I can see that what I'm saying is not sitting well with you.
Yeah.
I'm going to be your friend. This is what it is, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, it's been broken for 10 years.
Yeah, and
now
you're
dealing with a broken person, and now you're dealing with a broken friendship. Now you're wondering why your friendship for 10 years ain't working no more. It's because now you're dealing with corruption.
Yeah.
Now your character is corrupt over a friendship from 10 years ago.
Well, not even just that. If we are friends and we can't be honest with each other.
Mm-hmm. What your friends for?
If we're friends and we can't grow, and growing requires friction.
Friendships require emotional intelligence
and maturity.
And emotional maturity. A true friendship with proper emotional maturity and intelligence means that I cannot talk to you for 10 whole days and we still have our friendship. Or I can shoot you a text once every week and our friendship don't change.
Yeah.
Or I can call you every 2 weeks and we still pick up from where we left off.
Yeah.
That's when you know your maturity has increased.
Well, not even just that. When it comes to friendships, when you're getting to know people, the level of grace also changes.
Mm-hmm.
And the level of grace should change because as people begin to grow, there should not be an enabling of anything that they just came from.
Yeah.
So as a married couple, right? You know I lack boundaries before.
Mm-hmm.
If I start lacking boundaries, what are you going to do?
And set boundaries straight. Have you set boundaries straight?
As a friend, that same thing should happen. And as a friend and as a wife, I should be able, mature enough, emotionally, mentally, just
to receive it.
To be able to receive. Oh, he not trying to hurt my feelings. He's just being honest and wants the best for me. And I think that when it comes to boundaries, when we meet people who know what they want or they've been friends for 10 years and now they've set boundaries because after 10, 15, 20 years, they didn't know how to set boundaries. They get healed. And now it seems like everybody and their mama is just really immature, but then you have to recognize for 10, 15, 20 years, like you said, you allowed this to go on. You allowed this person to sit here, or these people to sit here and treat you in a kind of way. And just because you went and got counseling does not mean that they're going to be willing to accept this new person.
Yeah.
To accept your boundaries. So you're going to look like the bad. I don't know who this is for, but you're going to look like the bad guy when you start setting boundaries. You're going to look like the bad guy, the bougie person, the person who feel like they too good. Now you know. Don't let it affect you to a point where you lower your self-value, your self-worth, and to where you take those boundaries away.
But when you start setting boundaries, the right friends will come along.
Yeah, you will. There's just something about having a friend that you can sit and talk about anything with. And I'm not just saying the gossip and other people's business. I'm talking about the ones where you can be like, girl, like, this is where I want to go. This is where I'm at. and I want to enforce this boundary. I just don't know how. And whatever advice is given, if it makes you uncomfortable, 10 times out of 10 you probably need to use it. Right? So we have to be, we need to be the ones setting boundaries, but we also need to be the ones to also respect the boundary of those around us.
Yeah.
So that you can't be the only person in your life setting boundaries.
Yeah, you can't set boundaries without respecting boundaries.
Because at that point, it's not a boundary; it's manipulation and control.
Yeah.
At that point, you in your mind have become head honcho. So you can't treat me like this, but I'ma still treat you how I want to treat you. That don't go together, and you gonna reap what you sow.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to, not if, because everybody needs to have boundaries. There's hurt that comes along with boundaries, but there's also so much more hurt that comes along with not having them. And I'd rather have boundaries and have peace of mind and be healthy versus going back to that old version of myself that was always worried about if somebody was mad at her, that was always worried about if I had said the right thing, if I was, worried about if this person really liked me, or not, like just, and the person that I am today that has these boundaries, and we were just, talking about it earlier, like it make, like you said, that grieving process, like it make you be like, dang, like, like we're in this process again and where I got to set these boundaries, and I already know because this person is not here, emotionally mature enough to accept this boundary, I'm going to have to cut them off.
Yeah.
And being aware and knowing that.
You if you hold on to that rope too long, you're going to start getting rope burn.
I seen somebody, it was on Facebook earlier. A lot of times we cut ourselves because a lot of times we get cut because we either, it said enabled, or we love the person holding the knife too much.
Yeah.
So a lot of our wounds are self-inflicted because we lack boundaries and we scared to lose people. Let me tell y'all something. When you elevate and you set boundaries and you start changing for the better, it gets real lonely.
And I understand this too. When you set boundaries,
yep.
When you set boundaries, it's not gonna look the same for the people you setting boundaries for or you setting boundaries with. So, or if you in a certain place in your life spiritually or emotionally or whatever the case may be, when you set boundaries, somebody that's not spiritual or a Christian or a non-believer, they not gonna see those boundaries you set. They not gonna understand those boundaries you set, and you can, in a sense, you can try to explain what those boundaries are, and what those represent, but you don't have to go out your way to do that.
Yeah, it's not your responsibility.
Yeah.
For other people's reaction to your boundaries is not your responsibility. Yeah. That is not. I cannot stress that enough. As a kid, my mama, my teachers, you won't be held accountable for somebody else's actions.
Yeah.
You're always going to be held accountable for your own. And so if I'm setting this boundary and you pure throw a tantrum, I know where I need to step. Mm-hmm. Now I know where we stand, and I'm going to leave you right where you are. Mm-hmm. And if and when you are ready to respect my boundary, then we can have a conversation. And people look at people like that as people are gonna, you the bad, you're gonna be the pain of the bad guy. She switched up. She acted funny. She acting brand new. He acting brand new. He done got, and then the biggest one that I've heard since we've been married that a lot of people around us have experienced too, and what has been said about us, she got married, he got married, and now they just changed. You right, I changed. My life just changed. I just added somebody to my life. I have have to have these boundaries because the boundaries that I have as a married woman are not the same ones I had when we were engaged and when we were, you know, just dating.
Yeah.
It changes.
We changed and we upset that you didn't.
Say that again.
We changed, but we upset that you didn't.
Explain that, like elaborate on that a little bit.
We've changed. We've done over the last 7 years. We've elevated to the point to where we're healthier spiritually, emotionally, physically, financially. Now, the people in our past, you know, friends, family, just people that in general, as believers in Christ, you want to always see somebody doing great. You always
better than what they used to.
Because everybody can win.
Yep.
So when I say we upset that you didn't change, we know what that hurt feels like. We know what that side of the fence feel like. So when I say we upset you didn't change, that's speaking from a place of hurt. Yeah. That's speaking from a place of grievance. I mourn with you because you don't know how to
do what we've done.
Get from that side of the fence.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why I say that we are upset that you haven't changed. To be able to verbalize, to be vulnerable enough to tell somebody that, hey, I'm upset you haven't changed yet. You know, you're
still in the same place.
They don't understand what I'm saying. That's why I can speak. I'm speaking from a place of love because now I can just say I forgive you, I love you. You know, I'm praying for you, but I hope you understand one day that you're gonna have to leave that place where you at. You're gonna have to change from that place where you at because that's the only way you're gonna be set free if you set boundaries. If you set things up in place to where you can actually be free from yourself and from those people that you're dealing with over there. In that space in your life. So yeah. What does a healthy boundary look like?
Everything he just said.
A healthy boundary looks
I can't control how you take it because of the boundary. Yes. Tanisha said, I can't control how you take it, setting the boundary, because that boundary is for me, not you. Whew. I had to learn it's okay to be selfish with my peace because that's what people think you are when you set those boundaries. Listen.
You get that question, I'm going to get Mama's question. I'm going to tie both of your questions in together.
So, that last comment about... I already told y'all people going to think y'all a bad guy. But you're going to be called selfish, too. And let me tell you, I am one of the most selfless people, and this is just me and what I've been told, and it's not any way prideful. I am one of the most selfless people you could ever meet. I'm talking, I will give you the shirt off my back and drive home. Well, I would have to make, that's why I have an extra shirt in the car. But
I'll give her a holy blanket.
But I lack boundaries, so at one point, like, that's what I did. I just gave. So when I enforce boundaries, and like you said, it makes you mad, or not even mad, but it just breaks your heart because you like, I was just there with you.
Yeah.
And I found a way out, and I'm trying to help you, but you don't want to come. So now I'm selfish because I chose me, but I was trying to help you first.
Yeah.
And setting boundaries, you, like I said earlier, in setting boundaries, you show people how to treat you, because boundaries are tied to your, like, how you feel about you. If for example, one of my boundaries for our son, because I know there's people who do it, there's people who don't. If I'm in the room changing, he knows to get out. Now, when he was an infant, I would change in the room because he's an infant. He's a 6-year-old little boy now.
Mm-hmm.
That's a boundary. Did he understand it at first? Well, no, Mom. Like he would come in and I would be putting on my shirt and he would see my bra, whatever. But that's a boundary. Yeah. And I had to sit him down, and of course, we will be talking to adults, not 6-year-old. But I'm using this as an example because some people act like my 6-year-old son
because they're not mature enough.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
And so I'd rather be selfish and keep growing and love you where you're at, rather than to lower my standards, remove or push that boundary, scoot it on back a little bit and let you still be in my life. Because at the end of the day, I seen a picture today and I feel like this is the perfect representation, but it was a rotten strawberry and it was a healthy strawberry, but it was still touching the rotten one, and the place that was still touching the rotten one was now rotten on the healthy strawberry. I will not go back to being unhealthy and being deteriorated because that's where you want to stay. That is your boundary. I'm going to respect that boundary, but I'm still going to respect mine and keep it moving.
Yeah. Mama said, where it go?
Right there.
What does a healthy boundary look like, and how do you help them understand and grow with you if they love and value, if they love, valuable, and cherish the relationship? Well, first off, if a healthy boundary is one that's respected, it comes from a place of love. It comes from a place of understanding self-value, self-worth. It comes from a place of growth. It comes from a place of vulnerability. It comes from a place of freedom. It comes from a place of what's the word I'm looking for?
Growth.
It comes from a place of maturity. When dealing with people who are friendships, let's say friendships, and setting those boundaries, to get them to understand and grow with me or with whoever in general, if they love and respect the friendship, they have to understand that, hey, first off, you gotta be spiritually and emotionally mature enough to understand both sides. You gotta be spiritually and mature.
There has to be respect on both sides.
Yeah, you gotta be spiritual and emotionally enough to understand the boundaries that are being set. If everybody can understand the boundaries that are being set, then the growth will take place on its own. You know what I'm saying? So if one is struggling to understand why boundaries are being set, then that person need to figure out the mature side of it, the maturity side of it. They need to grow up. They need to seek Jesus. They need to understand what boundaries are and why they're being in place.
And the part they played.
Yeah. And because boundaries usually are set because of some trauma that done took place. Something done happened. If my house done got robbed 3 or 4 times, I'm gonna put up a fence
And a security system.
Right? Because now I don't want my house to get broken into. Well, if my heart done been robbed 4 or 5 times, I'm gonna put up a boundary.
Certain behaviors are not accepted.
So that person can't rob my heart, or rob me anymore, So that both sides have to understand what one is dealing with and what the other. Yes. A healthy boundary can be set without being healed or saved. I believe so.
Well, we've done it.
Yeah.
Like we don't speak on topics that we haven't lived. And while we have not arrived, there are just certain things. The question that was asked is, can a healthy boundary be set without being healed or saved? Have you ever been in a friendship with somebody and you can just tell, like you just get this, I don't want to be around this person no more. Like, I'm trying to go this way and they want to stay where they're at. Sometimes that boundary requires you just to set it and not say anything. It's a respect thing. Yeah. And
for sure.
And you have to, in setting boundaries, you have to respect yourself more than the person that you're setting the boundary for. And what I mean is, if I set this boundary according to the respect that's given to me, it wouldn't be there. Mm-hmm. So I have to set this healthy boundary so that I can continue to respect myself in a manner that's not going to continue to allow me to keep going on these cycles. Mm-hmm. That's not going to allow me to continue to struggle. That's not going to allow me to continue to be depressed, hurt, angry. And I'm not saying that you setting a boundary will make all those, things, go away. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, when you are healthy, a boundary is when you're like, okay, now I don't like that. I'm going to need you to stop. Okay, well, they don't want to stop. Cool. You're going to be hurt moving on. A healthy boundary, and you may even want to, you might send them a little text and snap on them. Like, bro, don't even play with me like that type thing. Y'all already know. Y'all already know how we get. And I say we because I'm still growing in that area. How when we, people be, it seems like people be really playing, what they say, playing with your top. Y'all get what I'm trying to say. When people want to still be attached to you, but it's still expecting you to be the same person you were before you set the boundary, that makes anybody angry, because I've grown from this.
Well, that's manipulation and control.
Exactly. So, but I've grown from this, and you're still expecting me to be who I was. Now I'm selfish. Oh, you done changed. You're right. And like you said earlier, I'm upset that you've changed, that you haven't changed, because I was trying to help us both. Right? Yeah. And so in a healthy boundary, it's gonna be one of them things where I see how you acting. I'm gonna go ahead and put this right here. I'm only gonna tell you once. If you don't respect it after that first time, we'll just talk in passing. Not saying that there won't be any hurt or anger, but you won't want to act out of that. Yeah. Because you've healed enough to be like, okay, like that's what I expected. And that also comes along with knowing who, you're placing somebody's life, and knowing where they are, respecting where they are. Okay, I respect where you are, and I see where you are. Mm-hmm. Not to say that I'm above you, but that's just not where I'm at anymore, because that was uncomfortable for me. I didn't grow there. Mm-hmm. I had to step out of that space. And so regardless of whether the person decides to grow with you or not, you still need to respect where they are. That's their decision. Yeah. Respect it. You don't have to tell you ain't gonna never grow if you don't move forward. You don't have to. In a healthy boundary, you're not gonna want to do that anyway. You're gonna pray for them. You still gonna love them where they're at, and you're gonna keep going the way you're going. So oftentimes people feel like they gotta belittle somebody just because they're hurt. Yeah. I'm mad because you didn't grow up. I'm mad now because I gotta cut you off. Make it make sense. Yeah. Yes, it sucks when you have to enforce boundaries and then you have to cut somebody off that was real close to you. Yeah. But everybody can't go with you where you're going.
What does boundaries look like in relationships? Not necessarily. What does boundaries look like in relationships, and what does boundaries look like in marriage with friends, married with friends? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like married couple with friends.
A boundary of ours is, if we have a friend of the opposite sex, we both have their numbers. Yeah. Like, there's no, they have access to you and don't have access to me.
Yeah.
Because that's a boundary of ours. And in marriage, there has to be boundaries, because if there aren't any boundaries with the married couple for other people, that's where the cheating, the lying, because, and like Nisa just said, don't call me after 10 p.m. Why? If we're married, if anybody calling your phone and and they don't say, hey, I know it's late, there hasn't been a boundary set. If what's another example? I'm trying to think of one that we done been through.
Mom, that's the thing. It's across the board. That healthy boundary is across the board. In general, for sure. Not necessarily. It's family. Like the same boundaries I have for friends, I have for family members. It's the same, because at the end of the day, family or friends are humans.
Yeah.
And just because you're my brother or my sister, you still can call my phone after 10 p.m. Same as my friend can call my phone after 10 p.m. Now, granted, we understand that emergencies happen and stuff like that. That's different. But that healthy boundary is for family and friends, or whoever we're in close proximity with. Those boundaries are in place, across the board for everybody.
They're like we stated, well, I think I was the one that said it. Boundaries are not a one size fits all. There are people who you have know your boundaries and they respect your boundaries. Them the people that you typically grow with.
Yeah.
But then you have people who
what they do with those boundaries,
that's their responsibility.
That's on them.
That ain't got nothing to do with you. That has nothing to do with you.
You set those boundaries for those people, for everybody. You yourself have set boundaries, healthy boundaries, but how they receive them, whoever it is, mama, daddy, sister, brother, cousin from down the street, Uncle John, the bootlegger from next door, whoever it is.
Do they still have bootleggers? They call them boosters now.
They went from bootlegger to booster?
I think, yeah.
And that's uppity.
Yeah, because the boosters, they go boost the stuff and then they sell it for a fraction of the price. What did the bootleggers do? The candy ladies and stuff, they went and bought all that stuff and then sold it at a high.
Well, candy ladies ain't boosters if they bought it.
Yeah, but it's the same concept, baby.
But anyway.
So,
but yeah, Mom, to answer your question, across the board, boundaries are set in place for friends and family.
So I have the perfect example, and I'm gonna call one of my best friends. She is like a sister. Her name is her Facebook name is Lerpa. Don't ask me why. That's her Facebook name. Okay, but I love her to death, and so we've been friends.
Man, from the fifth floor. The fifth floor.
We've been friends for like 3-4 years now, and even the boundaries with us have changed. Where when we first were friends, there were certain topics that we did not touch on. We didn't talk about. We actually gave each other permit, or not talk about, but we didn't give advice on. So if she's venting about a certain topic that she's never vented to me on before, my thought is not let me give her advice. Mm-hmm. Because that may be a boundary of hers. So me asking, hey, sis, what do you need?
Yeah.
Now I can kind of, based on how the conversation is going and what she's saying, I can kind of tell what she needs. I still will ask because of my own healthy boundaries, because I would love for somebody to ask me what I needed So, like, hopefully that makes sense. Like, just gauging those friendships and even relationships to where even though you know this person, you still respect that there may be a boundary there.
Yeah.
And y'all know when I do that, I got something good. It may hurt, but I got something good. So, if you are, we're going back to the dumpster friend. If you are the dumpster friend, I got an analogy for you, right? What goes in a dumpster? Trash. And the garbage is taken out once or twice a week, right? Depending on where you stay.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens when the trash is not taken out?
It overfills.
And it's where now?
It's all over the ground. And now
so if you are this person's
overfilled trash can
dumpster and you don't want to set a boundary,
now you got overfilled.
And now it's overflowing into other areas of your life.
Yeah, that's good. I almost threw my hat across this room.
Just think about it. When it comes, that's the best analogy right now
that
I can
set
give
a boundary
for boundaries. That's like when if
you're gonna get some overflowing negativity in your
it's
life.
Going to okay.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm trying to reel it in, but I'm excited because like I've been there. I know what a healthy boundary looks like. Now, I love myself enough now to put healthy boundaries out so that me and my husband can go to sleep and we ain't having to, we do heat check each other. Hey, you all right? Yeah, but we're not going to bed and I'm not teary-eyed. I'm not full of emotions because somebody just dumped all their stuff on me and now I'm trying to dump it on him. No, this is how you should take your trash out. Y'all ready? You say you just got off the phone with a friend and this friend is like, hey, I have this going on. Okay. You listen. And after that conversation is you discard it. And don't sit here and tell me or say, well, I don't know how to. You know how to, what it say, in one ear and out the other. Like somebody be like, you remember when I told you? And I'd be like, listen, I ain't gonna sit here. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. While you were talking, I heard you. I gave you advice or whatever you needed in that moment. And then after that, I just forgot it. You can make yourself forget something.
What about if you're ministers and have that responsibility to help? See, that's
okay. So that's
different. You go to God with it. The ministers will go to God with it.
So this is what
Amen.
This is what I would advise. Because when you are called to people, that's what you're going to deal with. That's, that's just like if you have friends that come over and they're going through something, right? You help them through that. You pray them through that and you leave it at the feet of Jesus. That's how you take that trash out as a minister. Because if you are a minister and you're walking around here carrying everybody's problems, you are not being effective to the kingdom of God. Like you're not reaching your full potential again because your dumpster is so full and it's overflowing to all the areas of your life. You gotta let it go. You gotta.
Without being a minister or a pastor, the best way we can say it is if you have the responsibility. Probably of quite a few people, maybe of a certain amount of people. You take their stuff and you lay it at the feet of Jesus.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day,
He's ultimately the one that's gonna help him.
You have to be able to take a step down after or prior to going to your prayer closet yourself. So. While you're in your prayer closet, your prayer is to ask God to help you deal with these people prior to you going out and dealing with those people. So now God will give you the tools necessary to deal with those people's problems, situations, so that you can properly deal with those.
The Bible says, "Come to me, all who are heavy burden." I think those are the words that are used. And weary, heavy burden, laden.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how you say that word, don't? But if something that somebody is dealing with weighs on you so much, it's weighing on you so heavy, you have to also release that.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, it now becomes, that spirit now becomes a part of you.
Yeah.
And to avoid that, like you said, you have to lay that, you have to be conscientious enough and mature enough to know.
I just got this. A lot of ministers fall by the wayside. A lot of pastors fall by the wayside because they never take the trash out.
Ooh.
They never take the trash out. So that's why you see a lot of ministers, backsliding, or you see a lot of pastors, pretty much leaving the church because they never take the trash out.
They're there for everybody, but don't have nobody be there for them. And they don't take it to Jesus because at the end of the night, they're too tired.
Yeah.
They're overwhelmed and worn out. But what did Jesus do when the pressure started coming?
That boundary comes in when you go into that prayer closet and that one-on-one time with Christ. That's that boundary. You got to be able to. God won't put you in that situation if you can't deal with it. To a certain extent. He know that you're gonna steward that responsibility, and you're gonna be able to
bring it to him.
Yeah, you're gonna be able to bring everything that has been brought to you and lay it at his feet.
Okay, so let me take this one.
What
my mama said. I know you kind of touched on it a little bit. But I know.
That's what I just said.
I know.
What?
So my turn. So, the question was, but what would be that healthy boundary? And so, from experience, me being the person being helped and the minister having healthy boundaries, first of all, and this is just me, this is my opinion, I know this is a lot of people's opinion, don't go into a minister if the minister is a man and you a female. Always have another woman present. That goes for both parties. Period. Got that out the way. If the person is always coming to you with problems and you give them solutions and they keep coming back to you with the same problem, how do you establish that healthy boundary? Hey, we have talked about this. Have you done XYZ?
Yeah, have you done your homework?
Because if you haven't, that's why you're still going through XYZ. Until you do whatever the Holy
communication.
Spirit...
The communication and the delivery.
Yeah.
Yeah,
until
important.
You do that,
yeah,
you're going to keep going through.
Because you can say that in two different ways.
Yeah.
And them take it,
But again, that's not your responsibility.
But as a minister, though, we speaking from a minister standpoint. As a minister, it's important to deliver it in a way to where that person can receive it correctly. Without any, you don't want to just leave that person say, hey, this is take it how you want to.
No.
You see what I'm saying?
No, I understand what you're saying, but also still, that's if
I'm a minister, I'm gonna say, look, the Lord told me to say or to tell you this, or this is what I would do in this situation, but the Holy Spirit is saying X, Y,
well,
Z.
You wouldn't even. What I'm trying to say is, and I'm not saying that you're wrong. What I'm saying is, in certain instances, you have to still be stern and have that healthy boundary. Because if you ain't listened the first 3 times, I'm still going to keep my composure. I'm still going to treat you with love and patience and kindness. But at this point, you are the problem. And we have to come to a health. Okay, until you have dealt with this the way that you have been advised to, I can't help you any further. I can't do anything further. Like I said, you can lead a horse to water. You can't make him drink it.
If he thirsty enough, he'll drink it.
Exactly.
be thirsty in here.
I'm just that's where
especially if it's hot.
You never fail. You go at least 2 or 3 times.
Chase a squirrel.
I won't even say that. Your
right,
personality.
So we done talked about boundaries. Let's jump because we about a minute and an hour.
A minute? I'm gonna say what you see a minute at.
I was looking at the minute. We're an hour and a half in almost. So let's talk about for a little bit.
Sorry.
Let's talk about.
I just love you. I'm sorry.
I love you too. Y'all, she love me, y'all. Love me, y'all. But your like people's places in other people's lives. Like how do you know when you in a good place, or how do you understand your position in people's lives? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
you would ask me that.
I'm asking in general.
Maybe I know, but I'm just saying you would be the one that posed the question. So, how do you
too.
how do you know your position in somebody's life or somebody's life based upon how they treat you?
Mm-hmm.
If they can call you at any time of the day,
mm-hmm.
and you there, that's your choice. That's your boundary. But if I can't call you any time of the day, you don't want to put your whatever you're doing down. If you can't be there for me, that shows me where I stand with you. People are either gonna tell you, or they're either gonna tell you and or show you, or they're gonna show you. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't know their place in people's lives because they ignore the actions. I don't know who said it, but some person.
So just said it
long time ago. Yeah, actions do speak louder than your words.
Yeah.
But a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Yeah.
I can sit here. I love you. I love you. I love you so much. But if I don't show you off camera, it's just words.
Yeah.
If I'm your friend, I'm going to show you through my actions, whether we talk every day, every week, every month. I have a friend or two that we will go months without talking.
Yeah.
And we stay in the same city. We'll go months without talking.
Yeah. Do it take emotional maturity and intelligence to understand that just because you have a friendship and y'all don't talk every day, that you still stand in a healthy place in that person's life?
Yeah, like it takes maturity because, again, actions. We may not talk every day, but I know if I'm in a crisis or if I just need somebody to speak life into me, hey, oh, you busy? Well, no, don't worry about it. And on the other end, they're going to say, no, give me 5 minutes. I'm going to call you back, or just let me hang this up. Or they're going to be like, you know what? You hold on. Yeah. I'm coming. They're going to show you through their actions, because when love is what love does.
Yeah.
Whether it's in a romantic relationship or friendship, love is an action.
Yeah, love
is a verb. Yeah. And I think that a lot of the times now, we don't feel loved. Well, it's because it ain't there.
Yeah.
If you look at the actions aren't there either. And so at that point, you have a choice. Let me either enforce my boundary and go where I'm loved and appreciated, or stay somewhere where I'm not. And if you decide to stay there because you love this person so much, love them more than you love yourself, then that's you. The hurt, the anger, the pain, that's your fault. We ignore the signs, say we do talk every day, but as I'm telling you something, you don't seem like you care or listening. I see what exactly. Yep. So that is so funny, because I actually just experienced that not too long ago.
Me too. Me too.
You think this person is y'all have had a great friendship, and it's out of nowhere, you talking to them and you happy because you going, you know, you done leveled up and da 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 da, and the actions and the reaction ain't hitting like it normally do. It's not being reciprocated. And I don't care what nobody say. You can feel when people love you. It don't just go away when you become an adult, because we say all the time that children know when they are loved. Children know when people want them around. As an adult, you know when people want you around. You know when somebody is being your friend or not. You just, either you going to ignore it or you're going to move past it. It's going to hurt. And no, you don't have to call them out on it. You don't have to call them out on it at all. Yeah, that's true. In the cases where, like I was just talking about, it's understood. So if we don't talk, and then you message me or text me, hey, let's get up this week. Okay, what's your schedule like? We get together, we're going to pick up right where we left off. Because we understand life is busy, life sometimes get hard. People don't always have their phones in their hands. Like, contrary to beliefs, everybody don't always have their phone in their hand 24/7. And so it takes maturity to have that what's understood doesn't have to be explained type of friendship. What happens to love your neighbor as yourself? See, this is, when it comes to boundaries, you still have to respect, and this is my opinion, you still have to respect and love people regardless. They may not have the same access to you, but just because and even if you decide to cut them off, if that's for, what's best for both of you, you still love that person. You still have hold space to love yourself and keep doing what you're doing. You don't have to compromise your self-worth, still being obedient to that commandment to love, love neighbors as you love yourself. But if you don't love yourself, how can you love somebody else? And I say that because it used to irritate me when people said that, because when I didn't love myself, because I love people. So I'm going to retract that and say, you can only love people as much as you love yourself. If you don't see yourself as worthy, it's going to be hard for you to kind of, love somebody, like be around people who see themselves as worthy. Like, it's going to be kind of hard for you to understand, certain aspects of that friendship, because you're just not there yet. And again, it doesn't negate the fact that you are still loving them, but I don't have to love you in the same proximity as I did when we first started, if it's not still being reciprocated. And I think that's where a lot of people get it confused too. Well, we've been boys, we've been homegirls for 20 years, and you gonna switch up on me? I didn't switch up on you. I switched up on myself.
That's because the friendship for 20 years, I didn't love myself.
Or I didn't know how to set boundaries.
Yeah. So now that I know how to love myself, I love you enough to tell you that, hey, look, you need to change.
Because if you don't change, you're not going to get to where you're going. And we have to be, the delivery is everything too. Mm-hmm. And we still have to be.
Deliverance is everything.
Yeah, and we have to be.
Somebody better shot on him.
Mature enough to allow our friends to be honest with us. Yeah. Because if your friends see you trying to set a boundary, or you set this boundary, but then your friends see you lacking, they should be able to call you out on that so you can fix it. Because sometimes we don't always see when we're lacking, because maybe we're in a season where we're busy and overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. And so
friends are important because they see that blind spot.
Yeah. Just like your husband and wife. Mm-hmm. Like friends are, God didn't create us to be by ourselves. Mm-hmm. Jesus had friends. He had 12 of them. Mm-hmm. 12. Yeah. And then when he went to heaven, he sent them out to by 2. The balloons. It was a celebration, y'all.
Now we at this point in the pod where we get down to the questions and answers. I know we pretty much had an interactive pod.
I like this episode was good, y'all. Y'all had me. Look, I'm sweating a little bit. Look. They got a little hot.
Y'all want to ask some questions and we'll just pretty much go Q&A for this last. I don't know, y'all. We just gonna rock out how we.
I mean, it is hot.
Yeah, we just gonna.
I think this is a good subject too because there's so many different moving parts.
Yeah.
Boundaries. If you don't know,
you gotta know how to do it. You gotta know how to deal with it. You know?
And you gotta
be ready to deal with it. You know.
She talking about what's tomorrow episode. Now, if you have not, guys,
should we do? All right, here we go.
Ooh,
here we go.
Okay.
Should we do just a special episode tomorrow, just where we do a Facebook Live and just Q&A?
Well, not even just Q&A, but like a just come chill with a session and
just talk about life.
Like
talk about boundaries.
Boundaries part 2. Because tonight was good. The interaction.
We appreciate the support, honestly.
Yeah, and make sure y'all follow us on Spotify.
Yeah.
Apple Podcasts, YouTube,
Instagram,
and Facebook.
You know.
TikTok coming soon.
Yeah, as long as they have TikTok up and running. You know.
I mean, we out there. Like, y'all, we
doing this.
Like,
God is doing this.
Like, we never really talked about how we started or why we started a podcast.
No.
We might need to do an episode just dedicated to that.
Yeah.
I think that's the way it came about and the way it's going. It's pretty, because, like, I don't think there's been an episode where we've had pretty much the same, like, audience to engage. Like, it's been a pretty wide range audience of, like, of the different topics.
Yeah.
With, like, somebody was, I posted in a group, and I was like, hey, like, you know, they was like, post your business or what you do. And I was like, hey, you know, my husband and I have a podcast. And they was like, oh, well, the Facebook doesn't say what the podcast is about. It's about life. Marriage. We talk about parenting. We talk about relationships. We done talked about we done talked about clothes on here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, appearances. We done talked about a lot.
Yeah.
This time, though, obviously somebody needed it. We stayed on topic.
Yeah.
So that was big. We stayed on topic. I'm trying to think.
Y'all share this live.
Yes, and the episode.
Send it to a friend.
Tomorrow. And shoot, we'll be live. We'll be live tomorrow too.
Yeah, we'll go live tomorrow. Talk about something.
But podcast peeps, we gonna cut it here. Thank y'all for your support. Thank y'all for tuning in. Until next time, peace.